Good morning, everyone. We're excited to present our project, Gamifying Cybersecurity Awareness. My name is Sultana Al and I'm here with my teammates.
My name is Anushka.
My name is Dara.
My name's John.
My name is Miguel.
My name is Shogila Tabir.
And before we move on with our presentation, we first want to thank our team leads and stakeholders. Joe and Sam have been great team leads, really engaged with our project and really helping us with like every step along the way. And thank you to Philip and Galen for being another source of information for us and also giving us a lot of freedom to kind of do whatever we think would be good for this product.
So, cybersecurity threats are on the rise, and unfortunately, not enough people have the needed education to know how to be safe online. And what's been especially hard is reaching younger generations and having them care about their cybersecurity habits. So, our goal was to make an engaging, interactive game that promotes good digital hygiene and teaches players how to protect themselves against cybersecurity threats.
So the entire premise of our game is that a hacker has very much infiltrated the player's computer and they're slowly taking over, and it's our job to help the players save our screen. Hence the name of our game, Screensaver. Essential to our game's design is the secure bar, which is an essential element that enables us to track and quantify the player's progress. It functions as a comprehensive system as it acts as a progress check, triggers events, and the consequences, manages timers, and measures overall player advancements.
So I was really involved with the design aspects of this game. So on this slide are just some examples of like characters from earlier parts of development, backgrounds, pop-ups, things like that. And then on the next slide, we have some examples of sprite sheets, which are basically like PNGs that outline the different frames of an animation. So whenever we wanted to animate something in the game, we would have to like make these sprite sheets from scratch. And that's basically how we got the game to look the way it does.
So in this game, you will learn how to spot scam calls and social engineering tricks, how to recognize malicious website, aka waterhole attacks, and how to use strong password to stay secure, and much more. So it's all about learning to protect yourself while having fun and being engaged.
So our game is split up into both main tasks and urgent tasks, and we'll cover urgent tasks later in the presentation. But for main tasks, we consider these to be the most important in educating people about cybersecurity. And our first main task was phishing emails. And phishing emails are arguably one of the biggest cybersecurity threats that people face. So we wanted to create a game to teach people about how to spot malicious links or fishy content within emails. So we have 3 rounds, and the players sort across those 3 rounds for a total of 10 emails, and they have to flag these emails as either safe or fishy. Doing so correctly increases their health on the security bar, and doing so incorrectly decreases their health on the security bar. And in order to gamify the experience further, we also implemented a fish cursor that actually dies when the user clicks an incorrect button as far as sorting the emails, or also potentially clicks a fishy link.
So in our project, we chose to focus on passwords because they are the first line of defense for almost every account, and many people still use weak or predictable passwords. Also, because hackers don't always guess passwords one by one, they use automated tools that can try thousands of passwords in seconds. That's why weak passwords are so risky.
In this game, the player task is to build a strong password. In each round, they have to choose the strongest option. If they pick a weak one, their security bar decreases and a password cracker malware appears. Once they have selected one option per round, they go through the exit door and a pop-up appears explaining why each chosen fragment was the right pick or why the others were weak.
The next game that we focused on as well was water holes. So a water hole attack targets websites commonly visited by people. And attackers compromise these websites to infect visitors with malware, very similar to predators waiting at a waterhole for a prey, hence the name waterholes. Basically, we gamify this by emulating a spot the difference type of game in which the player is given two web pages, one infiltrated and one normal, and then the player has 10 attempts to spot the differences. And the more they spot, the more differences they spot, and then the more points they get, and the more secure their bar gets, basically.
We also decided to implement CAPTCHA since we thought it would be suitable for the game because it's a test to tell humans apart from robots, or in this case, the hacker. However, instead of having people click on sidewalks or traffic lights, we decided to make it a little bit more fun and engaging. So we decided to add a quick reaction game where the player has to click on a moving target. And we also made an image puzzle where the player will have to find the target as well. Now we're going to be talking a little bit about the urgent task. Throughout the game, the urgent task will appear as a pop-up. And so these represent real-life cybersecurity incidents that need immediate attention. The player has the choice to accept the urgent task or ignore it. However, ignoring the urgent task might come with risk or penalties, simulating real-life scenarios.
So the first game is a two-factor authentication game. This game kind of simulates and gamifies the concept of two-factor authentication to emphasize its importance. Similar to what Miguel said, the two-factor task appears randomly throughout the entire game, creating a sense of urgency, and the players can either choose to accept the two-factor prompt or decline the two-factor prompts. Accepting it provides security benefits, or rejecting it doesn't really do much. This or could really lead to significant hacking consequences, similar to real life. And we kind of made the two-factor task to be kind of engaging and can range from easy to challenging depending on the player's skills and choices, kind of like a remember the digits game. And it's also 6 digits because this is industry standard for two-factor authentication. And the next game we also prioritize as the urgent task is the scam call. So basically, you listen closely.
Your computer has been infected with dangerous malware. I need to remotely connect to remove the virus now before it spreads. Please visit the website I'm texting you and enter the code I gave you. Time is running out.
So basically, the player gets 6 different calls like this, and it's basically the player listening to a phone call, paying attention to certain keywords and cues to determine whether the call is legitimate or a scam. And then the player could also hover over the information pop up in the top left of the screen, and this information has the like player information, and some of these calls relate to that player information, so they could use that as a sort of guidance for making a safe decision, assuming if the call is safe or a scam.
So I'm going to share my screen specifically for the live version of our game, and Miguel's going to walk us through how it goes.
Yeah, so I guess time for the fun stuff. This is a live demo, so if there are any issues, bear with us. But again, this is a top-down game, and all of the art was designed and made by our amazing teammate John. So thanks for that. So yeah, we have the instructions scene, and then once we read that, we can go into the game. We can walk around, and as you can see, the map is inspired by um, like a PC. We're inside a PC basically, and we have different rooms. The rooms are themed based on the mini games. So if the player walks in a room and they see um, that part light up, they can click on it, and then it will prompt them to the mini game. Um, so that's a quick demo of the mini game. We're not going to show too much so that you guys can play. And then we can exit that. As you can see at the bottom, we have a security bar that's increasing over time. And then if you want to increase the security bar, you'll have to complete the mini games. We can also hover over the player at the top left, and then we can see their information. And you can also see the urgent tasks popping up to the right. You can either choose to accept them or ignore them. And so if we accept them, we can get either a two-factor authenticator game or a scam call. And then at the end, depending on how fast and efficient you complete the task, you get a score, and then that score will be added to a leaderboard.
Yeah, so at the end of the game, the leaderboard, they'll be immediately redirected to the site, which will then display the name so it extracted the information from the Shibboleth login, so the name is displayed, and then will eventually show their score when they complete the game. And so the last thing we wanted to cover was talking about the connection between the front end and the back end. So for the majority of our time in Code Plus, we were largely working in the front end, which was using Godot, our gaming engine. So all the elements that we coded for the player to see and interact with was the front end that we developed. But we also wanted to implement the leaderboard system, as we showed earlier, in order to incentivize more gameplay and allow Duke students to compete against one another. So we had to also build a back end. So the flow of how things work between our front end and our back end is when the user is prompted to log in on the main page in Godot, they'll be prompted to sign in using Shibboleth. And when they sign in using Shibboleth and their credentials are authenticated, the information is attached to HTTP headers and sent through Apache to our backend. And for our backend, we decided to use like the Python Flask package as well as SQL Alchemy to make a database to store the name as well as the scores. So within Flask, we're able to extract the first and last name from the Shib login and store that information. And then additionally, Godot has HTTP requests that can also be sent through Apache for when we want to send the final score. So when the player finishes the game, we send that final score to also be stored in the database along with the name. And then we retrieve that information and display it on the leaderboard, which we also coded using HTML.
Thank you so much to everyone listening in, and a special thank you to the Code Plus admins, Jen and Sherry, who've been amazing putting this all together and making sure we had lots of resources available to us. Thank you to our student facilitators, Kieran and Rudy, being another great resource, and another thank you to our team leads and stakeholders again.